Barracuda Viper from the T-Man.
You got it. This is our Friedman family project that we've been working on about a year. It's a 1972 Plymouth Barracuda, originally found for us in Missouri. Guys I bought it off of were basically just bracket racers for the 440. We got it thanks to Kevin Douglas at a frame-off reservation when I was overseas in Iraq, fighting for our country, and turned out really well. We did alteration K-member in front. He also put in a 4-link rear end in the back, taking out the leaf spring. Painted it in American Corvette red. It's a beautiful Pro Touring car. And the motor we got out of a 2005 wrecked Dodge SRT Ram. The Viper, 8.3 Generation 3 motor. Puts out around 500 horsepower and 525 foot-pounds of torque rated out of the factory. It's a beautiful engine to put in there. All told, you get the motor, transmission. Sorry, T56 fans, it's the 48RE. It's a 4-speed transmission because it came out of the crew cab. But I'm very comfortable with that. This is a Pro Tour, so it's going to be driven quite a bit once we get it finished. We painted the block all black. I actually painted it inside the car. I actually taped off, I think, pretty much the entire inside of the engine bay, and actually painted it in the bay. So that was quite a project, but it was actually well worth it. As you can see, it looks, at least to us, that's really beautiful. Repowder coated the valve covers, intake manifold, basically the same color, so it looks awesome. Go around to the car, show you some other specs. For wheels, went with 18-inch front and rear TSW Valencias, the rim manufacturer for BMW. Inside we have 13-inch calipers slotted and drilled up front with 6-piston, 6-puck calipers from Willwood. Out back, the TSW rims. Also out back you get the 12-inch calipers with 4-piston Willwood calipers. As you can see, it's a 9-inch, or it's a 9.5-inch rim in back, and it fits perfectly underneath the rear quarter panel. No clearance issues whatsoever, so when you smash the air ride suspension that we have on it, it will fit up all the way underneath the wheel well. So it's a beautiful, it's a Pro Touring car. The rims are still pretty fairly wide. It's about 10.5 inches of rubber out back. Come to the trunk. We got Jake's just rear battery location kit, so it's all billet. It's pretty nice. A nice little secret. Mounted in a custom carbon fiber box. You have AirTech Technologies, got air ride kit. You get the compressor, all the valves, and the tank mounted right in the back. All flush mounted in the back here, in the box.
Yeah. Well, this is the shocks are air ride, but this kit is air lift. The control system, which is the compressor, the valves, the module, the tank, and the head unit right there.
Yep.
They'll be mounted in the dash.
Yep. Let me get that. Let's go underneath. Look at some
Grab the light.
The suspension pieces. Out back, you have the beautiful painted Chrysler 8 3/4 rear end. As you can see, you get the Air Ride Technologies 4-link rear end, replacing all the leaf springs at back here. Air shocks, stainless braided line for the brakes and the jumper. Nice setup. The only thing we're missing back here, we'll have a rear sway bar eventually put on here.
There's the kit. It takes off the leaf springs, mount bolts to the frame, top, bottom.
Then we'll go ahead and talk about a little bit of the exhaust. Out back you can see there's an X-pipe that we made, and my brother made it custom made right here in the garage here. And usually an X-pipe is supposed to go usually before the muffler. We just didn't have enough clearance issues with the transmission crossmember up front to be able to do that for our car. I still wanted the X-pipe though, specifically not necessarily for horsepower gains, but for sound scavenging with the throatier sound. It's supposed to help with the X-pipe. When you're coming 2.5-inch pretty much straight exhaust out, you need all the help trying to baffle that exhaust, especially on a Pro Touring car. I actually want to be able to speak inside the cab when we're going down the road. We'll talk about the
makeshift fuel system.
Fuel system that we made just for testing out the wiring harness. So from the factory line, what we made is a fuel pump from anywhere from like 86 to 93 Ford Bronco, F-150, Ranger. They all had the same fuel pump. It puts out 190 liters per hour, and it goes up to 110 rated PSI. So it was perfect for our applications for a stock Viper that doesn't have any power adders on it. It requires 60 PSI, and how we get that is right through the all-in-one Corvette style late model LS1 fuel filter / regulator. It's all in the same system here, which is really, really neat for us. It's preset from the factory at 60 PSI, which is exactly what a Viper engine runs off of, anywhere from 58 to 62 roughly PSI. And then you have the lines that just go straight into our little 1 gallon fuel tank for our test.
The reason we like to find other factory components that meet the specifications for our application is that if you're touring on tour or 200 miles from home with your buddies going on a road trip or something, and you do have a component failure, you don't have to call up and wait 2 days in some town for Jegs or Summit or somebody to mail you a Holly or a MSD pump or a Mallory pump, some pump that you have to wait for. This way, anything happens, you can go into any local auto parts store and get a factory style pump or filter regulator, no matter where he's at, replace it pretty much on the side of the road if we had to, and go down the road. So it's nice to use some of those stock components from other manufacturers.
Go ahead and look.
Alright, let's switch cameras.
And yeah, we'll let RJ talk about his mechanical genius ability on the wiring harness and how you splice a 2005 Dodge SRT Ram wiring harness into a 1972 Plymouth Barracuda.
We have the, like we said, we bought this whole setup, engine, transmission, wiring harness, and all the accessories that come on the engine from X2 Collision in, I think it's Madison, Illinois. They sell a lot of used and wrecked Viper stuff. It's a body shop there. So we got basically the whole powertrain and wiring harness all in one. So we took the integrated power control module, which is this box right here, and it's used to pretty much run power through a fuse circuit and or relay to anything that requires power on the truck it came out of. So we're going to morph that into this Barracuda, but right now we depinned any circuit we weren't using for starting the car. So all the power windows, heated seats, radio, amp, all that stuff has been taken out. We strictly are using it just to power all the sensors and actuators on the engine and the computer that controls them. So we give it power on the power lug. I got a ground wire grounding the engine and all the necessary ground connections for the computer. I found the wire through wiring schematics that comes from the ignition key sending the computer a switch signal. So when you turn it on, it runs the fuel pump and all the power to the sensors for 1.8 seconds unless it sees an RPM signal. So when this is the computer, we had it reflashed from B&G Chrysler Specialist. They're in Michigan. I can't remember exact location. And they took out all the anti-theft, emissions, anything that we don't need for our application that the stock computer required to see. Basically we don't have any water in it, so we just wanted to make sure the computer and all the sensors and everything were good and it would fire off. So we hooked up an oil pressure gauge, make sure we have oil pressure, and for running it for 30 seconds or so you don't have to have water. We have a put a fuel pressure gauge on the factory location of the fuel tap if you're doing it for diagnostic. I took the Schrader valve out. It's a -4 connection. Plumbed it to a liquid-filled gauge that goes up to 100 pounds. This sees 58 to probably 61 is what the requirement for the...
And you can see, since he primed the system already with the ignition switch, that it's already still sitting at around 50 psi.
So, I can fire it off one more time just to see. And